Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast Magic is Real. I'm Shannon. I'm your host. I am a psychic medium and a lover of all things metaphysical and spiritual. If you like this podcast, or even just this episode, would you do me a favor and please like the video and comment below, even if it's just a simple emoji? It means the world. It helps with the algorithm to get the word out that this podcast exists. Thank you for those who have been doing it. To those who have been doing it, thank you to those who are doing it for the first time, and it's nice to have you here. So today I am here with Jennifer Rose, which is a full circle moment for me. Jennifer Rose is the most lovely. She is an international psychic medium, channel, multifaceted healer, mentor, public speaker, transformational guide, writer, poet, humanitarian, and a wellness advocate. She teaches mediumship, healing, and spirituality. She also hosts For the Love of Spirit Sunday spiritual service on Zoom, which is how I met Jennifer years ago when I was just a budding medium. She is a leader of a healing community and passionate about living a full integrated life with a mind, body, spirit approach. Jennifer is also the host of Embracing Infinity on the Sacred Spiral Network, which you can find on YouTube and subscribe there. Jennifer, thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so happy to reconnect with you and to have you on Magic is Real.
Thank you, Shannon. I'm really happy to be here, so I appreciate the invite. And you have the best title ever for your podcast.
Thank you. I asked Spirit to give it to me, and
Yeah.
that's what came through. I would love to start. You have so much knowledge and so much wisdom in the spiritual space. I would love to start by learning about what led you to this work in the first place. Anything that you're comfortable sharing about your background and your childhood and when you discovered you had these abilities, etc.
Oh, sure. I'd be happy to. I wasn't one of the kids who was like seeing spirits all over the place. That wasn't me. And I do like to tell people that. So, because if it's not them either, they still know that they can do this work. So it's not a requirement for being a medium that you had to be one of those kids, because not all kids are like that. Now, I was very highly sensitive, very empathic. And I did have an awareness that I had abilities, that I was intuitive, and I would tell people sometimes, like, I'm psychic, and then they wouldn't believe me, or they would kind of laugh it off. So I kind of learned to just sort of keep that quiet. But I was always attracted to all things metaphysical, like you, too. So even as a teen, I'd find myself like in the metaphysical bookstore, looking at the books, looking at the crystals, getting a reading that no one had to know about, things like that, too. And so it was always there with me, too. And then I got into my adult years, going to college, raising a family, all of this stuff too. And a lot of that was still prep for the work that I'm doing now, even though I didn't realize it at the time. But then there got to be a point where I just felt this calling. So there's this time where your soul kind of knocks on the door and says, it's time. And you feel it within you, and you just know you have to listen to it, even with the fear of trying something so new and, finding your way and, down this path. It's very scary to start it, in the beginning. But the pull inside of me was stronger than the fear, if that makes sense too. So I started developing about 10, 11 years ago, and taking a bunch of classes. I put myself through boot camp. So I totally immersed myself in healing classes, mediumship classes, trance, physical mediumship. I went into a almost instantaneous spiritual awakening as well too. So it was, yeah, it was it's been intense the whole time, I have to say, too. A very beautiful, a beautiful journey, but a really hard one as well, too. So, and then I've just kept adding new things onto it as I've went. So, I didn't know I'd be doing all of this. I just knew I want to be a medium, and I love platform mediumship, and I would love to do that. That looked really great. Next thing I know, it's like I'm spread all over the place doing different things.
Your story is
So,
so similar to mine. I didn't know I was a medium. I studied to be a medium. Part of my spiritual awakening, or while I was having that awakening, was when I met you through other friends and started to attend your service. and just immerse myself. It was sort of COVID time, and
Yeah.
had a curiosity about it, read a bunch of books that said everyone can do this. I'd always been fascinated by it, didn't know that I was quote unquote allowed to be a medium also. Like, I thought that was something you were kind of anointed, chosen for. What were you doing before? Just out of curiosity, what kind of work were you doing, and what were
Yeah.
your interests before
I
this?
was raising my family, so that's what I focused on too. And even that was a little unconventional because I homeschooled my kids. So I was doing things a little different than my other mommy friends were too. So I realized I'm just not an in the box kind of girl. Even though it kind of looks like it from the outside, on the inside, I do things my way and things like that. And so a lot of my journey has been about removing the boxes, staying, getting out of the box, all the different boxes, especially as women that we find ourselves put in, through social conditioning, et cetera. I've worked as a hairstylist before that, which I really, really enjoy doing. I was very successful at it. And I was also into fitness too. So I had a personal training certificate and I studied liberal arts, philosophy, ethnic and women's studies in college and religious studies as well too. So I kind of have, spread in a lot of different areas. But I realized that it showed my love for being with people, helping people, working with people. Even if it was in the beauty and the fitness industry, it was like I loved making people happy. And I also realized I was using my intuitive awareness back then without realizing it. I was giving people healing without realizing because they'd be like, you just made my headache go away. It's been hurting all day long, and they'd give me a really big tip because I made their headache go away. I didn't realize like, oh, I was healing back then. It was like, so a lot of that was a training ground. So sometimes people think like, they don't belong in the world that they're at because they feel spiritual, but they don't realize what might be happening behind the scenes, that they're getting some kind of, preparation or training for what they might do a little bit farther down the line, down the road.
Yeah, and I think
Yeah.
that's one thing I just want to say is that there are people out there who don't believe in what we do, which is so okay and so fine. That everyone
Mhm.
has their own path, and I respect all beliefs. And you've probably received this occasionally too. That, for example, the other day, somebody on YouTube or something commented that I'm a fraud and that I'm taking advantage of people and that this is all fake. And normally I don't respond, but I did respond with something to the effect of, it's okay if it doesn't resonate with you and you don't believe in it, but don't assume what my intentions are. Don't assume what my experience has been. And one thing that you touched on that I wanted to address is one of the things I mentioned is that we didn't spend years upon years and finances on education, workshops, practice, uh, afterlife research. This is a profession like anything else. And if I were a fake, I wouldn't have, not that I need to prove it, but just to explain to some people that this is something that people actually, we go to school to do this in most
Exactly.
cases. Yeah.
Thousands and thousands of dollars added up
Yes.
over the years in training. And the hours spent driving to class,
Oh,
now
yeah.
maybe we do them on Zoom. The hours spent having to meditate, sit in the power, sit with spirit to amplify our energy and all of that. And then just all of the background work we do on our computer too.
Yeah.
It's a 24/7 job that we do too. And you're right. Why would we be doing all of that to fake it? Like that doesn't make any
Yeah.
sense.
I would
It's a
just set up a crystal
really good
ball on the
reply.
side of the road or something if I wanted to be fake and just, and people, I'm sure people do that. But
Mhm,
one thing I know is that we are all mediums. So maybe a medium you went to wasn't the best at their job. Or in in a few cases, maybe they really were just a scam artist. But for the most
mhm,
part, one thing I can say is that even when I've had readings that didn't necessarily resonate, I never once thought this person is a fake. They just might not have
mhm.
connected that day. And that's just something I like to
Yeah.
share because mediumship, like anything else, is beautiful work. We love doing it. And also it isn't
Mhm.
something that that we take lightly. I think
Yeah.
those of us with integrity, which are most mediums I know, we do this because we love
Yeah.
people. We do this because
Yeah.
we care and we want to be of service to people. So I'd love to hear Well, there are several things. One is that uh, we're going through times have always been crazy. History has always been crazy. But we're going through something that almost feels like a little simulation with how crazy, with how dramatic all of these conflicts have been brewing for years, and they're all coming to the surface now. And at the same time, more and more people are awakening spiritually. So I would like to talk about that and what your thoughts about that are, why it's so important to awaken, and why are we awakening now? Whatever you'd like to share about that, I'd love to hear.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. Thank you. And sometimes with the naysayers, I'm like, until you need one.
Yes.
So, you might need me
Yep.
someday, so be careful.
Exactly.
You
Yep.
know, um, but yes, and I have been through so much intense transformation and awakening too, and it's changed me. I'm not the same person that I used to be. In my essences, of course, my memories are, but it's this type of work that we do as mediums requires, it demands, it commands that we become the best versions of ourselves that we can be, so that we can hold the space for all different kinds of people who are going through grief, which is very sacred, and be able to make sure we're always healing and uplifting. Now that said, but that's mediums. What about everybody else? So we're in this big, huge, uh, cosmic shift right now. It is a collective awakening among all awakenings. I do believe it's going to take us somewhere positive, and we will have a beautiful renaissance. Um, and but it's coming. I just the timetable is going to be what it is. But COVID was a big one because everybody was home. With their thoughts. So I knew that when lockdown happened, regardless of our opinions about all of that, I knew like, oh my gosh, everybody's going to be home without distractions. We're going for a big dark night of the soul is coming in, like a big collective dark night of the soul. And I went through a big stage of my awakening during that time as well, too. It was really hard. And now it's happening again because so much is coming out about the world and the way the world works, and especially some of the very um, dark and destructive things that are happening that are being kind of exposed right now. And that's all of a sudden everybody's kind of on high alert, and we're watching, this happening. And it's making a mass amount of people realize that things aren't the way they thought they were, and they're now having to open up to new ways of thinking, new ways of believing, new ways of looking at the world. And what does that do for you? Like, because then it's what happens is there is a psyche. It's funny because there's a siren. I'm like going by too. So the psyche has a really hard time. It feels like it's dying when our belief systems are confronted. And so the psyche will go to great lengths to try to protect a belief, even if it's been proven false. And it's right there in front of you. Like that's how strong it can be sometimes. But this is like big stuff. And so I do believe we're in the age of Aquarius. Now we're in this big Uranus and Gemini, which is a 7-year cycle too. So cosmology wise or astrology wise, it's like we're kind of like right on track with a mass awakening as well too, because age of Aquarius, brotherhood of man, all of this, right? Too. But from a more psychological, spiritual perspective, it's like the psyche feels like it's dying if it has to give up a belief, right? And so this is very challenging for a lot of people. So they're either going to be running towards some kind of security, like becoming more religious, which we would be surprised, or they're having to just like really open up to something new. Now we need this awakening because we need a critical mass of people to put it in a frame that we can all understand, a framework that we can all understand. We need a mass, a critical mass of people to raise the frequency so that we can ascend, so that we can come out of this like deep density that we've been in and find ourselves in a better place that's more harmonious with each other. And so forth. Do you want to stop? Do I need to take a break?
No, keep
Okay.
going.
Yeah. And so it really is like this is an intensely crazy but exciting time to be alive right now too. So we're faced with a lot of destruction, but then we're also looking at like the possibilities of newness of what's going to come in it. So we need to create beauty. We need to create something very new. So we don't know exactly what all of this is going to look like, but what we do know that it's pretty much necessary that lots and lots of people awake, and they're being forced to right now because the world is looking very different than they once thought it was a month ago, a year ago, 5 years ago, even too. And so people are changing. And the hard part is the existential crisis, right? That's the hard part. It's very, very painful because who am I without my beliefs? And but we have to do the internal who am I process so that we can, become more in alignment with our soul, which raises our frequency of our awareness, which then raises the frequency of the awareness of the planet, which brings us into ascension, if that makes sense. So it's really intense stuff that we're seeing right now. So wondrous, awe-inspiring, and heavy too, all at the same time.
Yeah, it feels like somebody made it
Yeah,
up. It feels like we're in some kind of a dystopian uh, George Orwell kind of
it does.
existence, and a lot of
Yeah,
it was predicted. Even
yeah,
just the advent of AI and robots and all of these things that movies have been made about for years since I was a kid.
yeah.
And we've seen films about like even the Jetsons, which
I know.
was meant to be funny, but it's actually real. Like there are actually Tesla
Yeah,
robots that can be
yep.
your housekeeper. And it's all of these, like retina scans and all of those things that are actually possible now. It's it's
Yes.
hard to believe that it is actually real. And I also understand and I believe that our souls came here at this time for a reason. And it's the brave ones. What do you know about that or think about that?
Um, yeah, that's a good way of putting it. The brave ones too.
Yeah.
And you're right. It's so much technological change that's a lot for us to absorb all at once. It's a lot of energy. We're talking about really, really intense energetic shifts. And it's like it just goes to credit us that we have a soul because we're making it through all of this too. And forgive me, what was the question again?
Yeah, just it wasn't very specific to but basically why do you think that our souls chose to be here at this time
Oh, yes.
or what and was it a deliberate
Yeah,
choice?
that's a very good question. What I'm seeing a lot of is that we are we know we're multidimensional. So we already know that. We already know that we span many lifetimes and many versions of reality, many timelines, and all of that too. I think a lot of us have come here to assist in this process. And it doesn't make anyone better or worse. It just means this is what we volunteered, what we signed up for to help with basically the clearing process. So a lot of us are very empathic. We have systems that are able to kind of transmute, transform, and amplify energy. And I think a lot of us have come down here to help with that. So there's probably star seed frequencies in a lot of people who are mediums and healers. But even people who aren't into spirituality at all, they may be an athlete. They can hold a lot of power, they can help to amplify the grid. So they find a way. You know what I mean? They find a way. So it's not always going to be who you think it is, too. But we're amplifying a way that's going to pull us out of this level of density that we're currently in, too. And so, yeah, you could say we came here for a really intense adventure too, because it's like so much change, and it's it's a it almost leaves you speechless. But you're right, it's like there's a point where you kind of take your hands off of it and you have to look at the cosmic absurdity and humor of it all too and just go, wow, God, you really or a storyteller.
That's what I always say. It's like God is writing the perfect screenplay with all of the players. And also, I
Hmm.
think, and I would love to know your
Hmm.
thoughts on this, that,
Yeah.
and some of the players are people that are meant to be on the darker side so that there is the contrast, but also I really believe that some of the main players, I don't, I'm starting to wonder too, are they like reptilians? Or are they dark energies? Or are they simply just constructs of mental illness, indoctrination, whatever? But I do believe they're here specifically to shake things up for us because somebody had to play that role in the play. Somebody had to
Be the villain.
be the villain
Hmm.
so that we could say, wait a minute, this cannot stand, and force us to rise up for truth, for justice, for love. What do you think about
And
that? Yeah.
I think you're right. I think it's probably a combination of those things too, because more and more of that is coming out now. Now, a lot of people are talking about ETs and their role playing in this too, and it's like so. It's amazing to see all these conversations happening. You know that were happening kind of in closed circles or smaller circles, and now it's like a little bit more mainstream to be talking about these things too.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to keep finding out more and more and more, and it's you could look at it from the perspective of if source consciousness wanted to see how hard it could possibly make it for its own fractals of consciousness to awaken and survive and actually um, change and alter that level of intensity when it comes to darkness and destruction. And that too, that for us to actually come to the point where we could rise above that and awaken from that too, because the veil of forgetfulness is hard enough. And then all of these other things that come in and make it so hard, whether it's environmental factors like food and air and water, hormones, and then just being caught in the grid itself right now is so full of dense emotions too, and so it's like it's almost like almost made it impossible, yet here we are making it possible. Like here we are proving you can't destroy love.
Yeah.
I got chills.
I know I did too.
Woo.
How can we protect our own energy in general
Yeah.
from the negative forces in life, but especially this time in history?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. And I've never been a big, like, blocking out, bubbling, mirroring kind of person. I've always been more of the teachings of when did we see ourselves as weaker than another energy around us? And so as soon as we can change our framework of mindset to believe that we're as strong or stronger than the energies around us, then we're not living from a space of fear, if that makes sense, too. So that's usually been my framework all along, too. Um, that said, we're open, and the more that we develop, the more attuned we get to emotional frequencies, and the more quantumly entangled we get to everything that's happening around us. All of the people that are closest to us we become very, very telepathic with, and we are moving into telepathy. We're moving into a space where eventually we will be so telepathic that the ego itself, as it is with its protective mechanisms, won't be able to sustain itself because we we're able to see through it, if that makes sense. You can't hide anything when you're telepathic. Like, so that's kind of like where we're going. How long it will take is another story. Um, so that said, we have to one recognize that not all thoughts may be our thoughts. Maybe it's spirit world giving us help or giving us a thought. Maybe we're picking up on somebody else's thought that's in a bad mood, and it comes through our mental filter, and now we think it's our thought and we think that was our thought. So we don't always know what's our thought and what's another thought that's coming into our space too. So it takes time and practice to begin to kind of unravel that. But your emotions are a little bit harder to filter, so that's going to tend to be a little bit more accurate as far as what you're perceiving. Now we're very empathic, so that means our energies are big and very receptive and everything too. So we have to find ways to just very simple grounding the energy, sitting in some quiet stillness and meditation, to basically clear and recharge and so forth too. And then remember that we do have the ability to transmute. So that just takes intention and a little bit of time and practice. And we know we can do it. We just keep forgetting to. Oh yeah, I can transmute that. I actually can intend to turn that energy into a higher frequency. And we just forget. It's like, you know, that makes sense. Like we know we're supposed to eat this healthy thing and then we forget and we eat something else. So it takes a mindset to keep practicing. I would also love to offer that we have to take care of our physical, whether I know when we are spiritual beings, and so technically there is no physical body, but we experience ourselves as physical. And in the experience of being physical, we are chemical, we are biological, we are electric and electromagnetic, right? We're all those things too. So the more you take care of your physical self, the more power you are able to hold within your system. Your system itself is healthier, right? And it's going to be less susceptible to things that you may not want to be touching your energy or affecting your energy. So, what does that mean? Exercising, eating healthy, clean water, clean air, your vitamins. There's a lot of state of the art health things that are out there right now that people, if they have access to, can try, that are very good for helping with longevity, with taking care of your cellular part of your system and your DNA and your mitochondria and all of this too. That makes a big difference too, taking care of your health. And so I can't stress that enough, because we need that like mind, body, spirit approach too. That will help a lot.
Yeah, absolutely. I think so many
Mhm,
people are sick mainly because of stress, but
mhm.
also stress,
Yeah,
depression caused by all of this external stuff that's happening that isn't actually
yeah,
natural for us to be immersed in.
yeah.
And that, yeah, we're not always going to be perfect, but the thing is that so many people are sick because of there's so much pollution, there's so many
Mhm.
chemicals added, there's so much sugar added. And so
Yeah.
even just looking at labels, I can't eat sugar, so I have to kind of like, and you realize every processed food has sugar added to it. Even Trader Joe's, which is sort of like the healthy market,
Mhm.
if
Yeah.
you look at the ingredients, I'm always putting things down like this has sugar in fish, like in everything. And
Yeah.
those things, believe it or not, affect your vibration and your energy. And that's not the main reason to avoid them. The main reason is inflammation, disease prevention,
Exactly.
um, but also the secondary effect, as you said, is raising our vibration so that we are in a greater state of peace, but also in a greater state to be able to, a better state to be able to connect with others in a loving way.
Mhm. Yeah. If you're not healthy and you don't feel good, it's going to be really hard to regulate your emotions, and your mental states too, because our brain needs to have the right balance in its own biochemistry as well too. And it's like even hormones. It's like it's very go to the doctor, check your hormones, make sure all of them are in balance. Because some doctors, if you're a woman, they're just going to check your estrogen, right? But it's like there's chronic low testosterone in men and women
Yeah.
out there too. They lowered the levels to compensate for the widespread low levels. So they actually lowered the standard. And so um, those things we can help. Those are things we can do to make it better, and then we feel better. We're much more mentally clear and balanced, and that enables us to live a better life too, right? So we do want to live as souls the best life that we can while we're here. We just get the one. Yeah, you got
Right.
your other lifetimes, but you're only Shannon this one time. I'm only Jennifer this one time. So it's and
Yeah.
so we have so much more available to us if we take care of ourselves, and that's an act of self-love. So we have to go, do I love myself enough to work through these things, to take better care of myself, so that I actually have more to live for, including the people that we love.
Yeah. It's putting your
Yeah.
own oxygen mask on first so that we can be of greater
Yeah.
service to others, but also so that we can feel good and we can thrive
Yeah.
despite all of that thing um, and have more bandwidth for the difficult things that are happening.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, no,
Right on.
you touched on something too about we're always being communicated with by spirit. And a lot of the thoughts that are in our head aren't all coming from us, but we don't necessarily think about it because we're just so accustomed to filtering that out and not tuning into it. So as I teach also mediumship, you teach
Mhm.
mediumship, psychic abilities, intuition. How do we know when spirit's talking to us versus what is our own thought?
That's a good question. You don't always know.
Yeah, I know.
Too, because especially if it's claircognizant, it's not going to come in with as much of a shift in your clairsentience, if that makes sense. So our clairsentience picks up on the energetic shift or the awareness, or maybe we're just really busy and things like that too. So we're really not, we don't completely have our awareness focused over there too. But then, so it, if it's accurate, it doesn't quite matter as much. Then the question comes is it inaccurate? And that's where it gets to be like, where did this come from? So, for example, if I'm watching a mediumship demonstration and I see a message come through a medium, and I'm very supportive of all mediums too, but what challenges me is when I see a message coming through and it has some negativity or it has some prescriptive advice, meaning they're telling someone that spirit told them they have to do this because it's which is a disempowering thing that comes in a message. And I just look and I go, I can tell that that's not spirit giving you that. I can tell that some of your own stuff that has come into the message. This is coming from your own subconscious mind, or you're going through something right now. And everybody, might do that at some point in their life, but it's like we want to try very hard to keep doing enough self development so that we can separate the two. And so, really, like that's important is to be able to make a separation. When I go to work to do a reading for somebody, I make a conscious effort to say, anything that's mine, I am putting aside. And I go, Spirit World, I'm here for you and only you and the person that's coming onto my meeting right now, too. So I make that clear intention. So we don't always know, but the more we develop our ability to channel, so I would encourage people to practice channeling and don't worry about if it's coming from you, if it's coming from spirit in the beginning. You just have to start
Hmm.
talking. It becomes more important if you're working professionally. That's when it becomes more important to have that discernment. But with time and practice, you'll begin to see the subtle differences, and you'll begin to feel the shift in frequency as well too. And usually, when spirit world comes close, there is a shift in the atmosphere, a little more loving feeling, an emotion, a tingling, a champagne bubble feeling, kind of stuff like that. And over time, you realize, oh wait, I just shifted. I'm connecting with they're knocking on your door a little bit there too. But sometimes we're just connected to the people around us. I've picked up thoughts from someone on the freeway that I don't even know. And I'm just like, oh, that person's in a bad mood. How did and it was just lingering around,
Yeah.
too. And so um, that could also teach us that. So what I've learned too when it comes to practicing my telepathic connection is when I have thoughts coming through, I don't always know exactly if that thought is exactly as it's coming through in my mind, and so I learn not to connect dots. If that makes sense. So I go with more of what I'm feeling versus the thoughts that are coming in. So I learn not to connect dots with thoughts that are coming in too. And so because what happens is we get a thought and then we attach to it, we give meaning to it, we develop a story around it. It must be this. And it's kind of like with mediumship too, when spirit world's giving us evidence, we have to be careful not to overinterpret. We have to translate, but not overinterpret, if that makes sense. So it's like learning not to overly connect dots that aren't connected. So it takes a lot of practices.
It does. I've been guilty of that
It's-
too. I start to
yeah.
see things like almost like a
Hmm.
collage. Okay, I have a hat, I
Yeah.
have a duck, I have this, and then putting it all together. And even now, I have to remind myself, don't try to figure it out. Let your sitter tell you what that means to them, and then we can put the pieces
Yeah.
together.
Yeah.
As I
Exactly.
say, it's a game of charades
Yeah.
between you and me and your spirit people that
It
we're all
is.
playing a game. They're just showing me a thing, and I have to trust that you know what that's about. And then if you don't, I have to go show me something else. Okay, show me something else. It's a puzzle. It's a jigsaw puzzle putting all the pieces together, and the way it comes together is so amazing and so
It is.
validating. Do you
Very
have any
true.
off this
Very
might be
true.
hard, I don't, but off the top of your head, can you think of a specific experience you've had where the pieces kind of came together either for you or for somebody else if it's not too personal, um, even if it's just something small, an example of how that works for you and how that has manifested for you.
Um, I'd have to probably like search my memory banks a little
Yeah.
bit, but there has been times where just like maybe we're at the very end of the reading, and then all of a sudden I spit out a name, and they're like, "Oh, that was her name," like I get it
Yes.
out at the very end, and they're just giving me their little mic drop kind of moment. Spirit loves mic drop moments. They're so good.
They're
Just love to
so
show
good
off.
at it. I know. I
You
know.
know,
I had a client who is now on the other side, and he asked me, "Can you tell me what my wife's spirit name is?" And I said, "Well, I don't know that they have different names on the other side." He said, "She'll know what that means." I'm like, so I started to think. I said, "Let me just not think. I don't want to think because then my own thoughts are going to get in the way. So let's just thank you for the question. Now I'll let the wife answer it. Let's just keep
her
talking."
way. Hmm.
And then at the end of the reading, I said, "She's telling me, honey, enjoy, enjoy, enjoy. Like she just wants you to enjoy your life." And I said, "But she's saying it just like that. Why is she saying it like that?" And he started crying. He said, "Because I told her when you die, because she had cancer, your spirit name is going to be joy." He said, "You're just
Oh,
so full of
that's
joy
so
all the
beautiful.
time." And it was like, that's another tip. I don't know, a trick, right? Or not a trick, but is if there's somebody asks a question or you want to know something from spirit, if you stop to think, you're probably not
Yeah,
going to find it. You're
yeah,
going to hear it
exactly.
randomly when you're not over focusing on it.
Yeah,
When people ask me, "Well, what is my son doing on the other side?" or what is, I tell them, "I'm not going to answer that right now because I don't want to make something up. So let me just let the spirit and I sit with that. We'll keep talking. And then I guarantee you it's going to come in later."
yeah,
Not
that's
guarantee because
exactly
I,
how it
yeah,
works. Yeah.
yeah,
And it's kind of like while you're explaining something or having a you're like talking kind of in conversation mode, and like they're saying this or I'm being shown this and da 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 da. And they go, that's it. And you're just like, what did I say? Like it's like you were just explaining something and they go, oh, that's it, and it's like so they find a way to kind of ride a wave of thought form
yeah.
and to get it in there.
Yeah, it's
So
incredible. And it's
yeah,
always, and
yeah,
it is one of those less is more things. I think sometimes we
yeah.
try so hard. And don't people ask you often, "But why can't I feel my loved one? Why aren't they talking to me? They're not coming to me." What do you say to that?
Well, they are.
Yeah.
They're there, and you can learn to feel them, if you're willing to put in a little bit of time to even just sit quietly for a little while and invite it without expectation, and so just to learn to develop your awareness of it too, and then also understand that they speak to you through signs and synchronicities. So it might be numbers, license plates, feathers, coins, things that may have already happened that you just discounted as nothing important, right? But they did it for you too. So it's like a matter of trust and faith and believing too. So they are there, but I think a lot of times people they need to feel it or they need to see something tangible, but then if it does happen they might get scared. So it's like we have to be open to feeling a sensation, a vibration, a sense of emotion coming us over, or be open to maybe they knock on the wall or they flicker the lights or something like that, or they bring your attention to the clock. So just be open to it, knowing that they're not trying to scare you, but if you've kind of said, okay, I know this is possible. I give you permission. I won't get too scared. Kind of thing. That helps too. But I know they want it so bad, and sometimes the wanting too can make it cause a little bit of contraction in there too. So it's a matter of like just opening. opening things up as like best you can, but they will not, spirit world will not give up on trying. They will keep trying to get through one way or another. Too, that they love you that much too. So it's my one of my most favorite things of all the things I do. I light up with all things spiritual. I really do. Everything I do, I love. Or I wouldn't be able to work as hard as I do because I work all the time. I'm a workaholic,
Me
spiritual
too.
workaholic. But mediumship, connecting with that energy, that frequency is just so loving. It just feels so beautiful, and it's pure, and I just love it. And so I do know they love you so much. They will keep trying. Yeah.
Yeah, I also would like to ask you,
Mm,
you and I, because we do this for work, we know that we never die. We and yet we're still human, so we still experience
yeah.
grief.
Yeah.
And I'd love for you to share about that in anything that feels right. That I know since I've been doing this work, I've lost people, and I feel you have too. And
Yeah.
how has the knowledge of the fact that there, like, spirit never dies, there is no death, um, how has that perhaps changed since maybe if you lost somebody before you started really diving into this work? Does it change your experience of grief at all, or how you navigate grief?
That's a really, really good question, and we have such responsibility because we're holding space for people who are in grief, and the tremendous ability to be able to offer healing to somebody, to give them that, essentially the proof that their person is okay and still there by offering the evidence, but also the healing experience. Like, it is a true gift and an honor to be able to do that work. I also understand that, you know, I, s- I still sometimes I know that life is continuous. So that gives me solace and peace. But there's times where, like, especially with pets, like I almost can't go there because I'll just start crying at the drop of a hat, because of the grief. It's just like right there.
Yeah,
you know I have more acceptance over my human loved ones because they maybe reached enough of an age, they had enough of a life, and pets are kind of like kids, things
yeah,
like that too. um, so I think it's different for all of us, but I understand it's the price we pay for love. I understand. I, I, we grieve so much. We grieve every time we change and transform. That existential pain of the dark night of the soul is we're grieving who we thought we once were and letting go of that old version. That comes with grief too. Every time we have to change something, even if it's exciting and we want it, they go, why am I feeling a little depressed at the same time that this exciting thing has happened? Because you're grieving what was. It's a strange phenomenon. It's a strange force of being. It has its own beauty in it, though.
yeah,
It does, if you can find beauty in that as well too, in the transformation of it all too. So, but I'm definitely, um, I've always been a loving, compassionate, empathetic person. I am more so now than I was before, as I have grieved pets, more humans, more me, more of the old me,
hmm,
more of old parts of my life that have changed too. It becomes very real,
oh yeah,
you know, like
yeah,
becomes there's a sacredness to it. That's probably the best word that I can use, is there
yeah,
is a sacredness to all of it. And that's the word that kind of makes us all be okay with it.
hmm, yeah. I think
Mm,
knowing what I know
mm,
makes, I would say it makes it easier. However, it doesn't
yeah,
mean that you can still grieve, you still will grieve, that in this
yeah,
incarnation, in this life, you're not going to see that soul again, or that person, or that animal again. You
yeah,
will see them again when you're both in the same form. But I think that's something that it doesn't mean that we're not still going to feel grief. And I always emphasize that to my
yeah,
clients as well, that look, I know this isn't going to bring the person back, and that's never going to feel okay. And
yeah,
also how beautiful that they continue to show us that they're very much alive and conscious and still with us, not the way they were before. And that's the grief. And
beautifully said.
yeah, I
Yeah,
understand a dog that my housemate and I mainly her, took care of, just passed. And we have her dad gave her a paw print that's in our little entryway. And every time I see it, I burst into tears. And I said to her just 2 days ago, I said, why is it I'll cry over a dog for like years, but I won't cry over a human the same way? And it's, as you said, because they're not able to speak for themselves to say, hey, I know what's going on. I
Hmm.
understand. And so I think, and
Yeah.
also, this is a really nice time to talk about animals come through to me all the time. And I bet they do to you too.
Yeah. Unconditional love.
Yeah.
They're just pure unconditional love too. So I'm so
Yeah.
happy when they do come through. I get kind of excited
Oh, yeah.
because it's the frequency that they come through is just so beautiful too, and it makes people really happy.
I
Like,
know.
oh my God, my dog's here, my cat's here. Like, yeah, I got
Oh,
this kitty cat
yeah.
just ran by. Who's this?
I have that too. And they always just, in the way I see it is they run by. It's like they
Hmm.
literally run by, showing me that they're fully alert, they're fully conscious,
Hmm.
and the messages that they share are just like, I had the best time with you. You gave me the best life, and now I'm still having the best life. Nothing's changed. I'm still there, and that is such a beautiful thing to me
They
too.
get
That
spoiled in heaven, very sure.
yes, and that just because they're human or their physical bodies couldn't form language the way that we can, they are as sentient as a human. We are all
Absolutely.
sentient beings, trees, animals,
Yep.
people. We're all the same,
Yep.
just with
You're
different
absolutely right.
bodies to
Yep.
express. And I would like to know that in all of the in all of your time doing this, what have you found to be really the most important thing? So I'll ask it this way, as I do of all my guests, is if
Okay.
there's one thing that you want people to know, what is it?
One thing that I want people to know. Oh,
It's vast,
Ca-
and I just
I
tell
can.
people whatever comes to mind.
It is vast. Um, I want people to know thyself
And what does that
because
mean?
that
Yeah.
changes everything.
Mm-hmm.
So we spend most of our lives getting feedback from the outside world and developing our sense of self from that too. And it's not wrong. Our brains are literally wired that way to look for feedback and mirror. Then there comes a point where we can learn or we just move into it naturally that we need to look also within what's going within in our internal world as well. There's a whole internal world that is affecting the external world and vice versa. And the more that we know ourselves, the more in alignment we are with our higher self or our soul. And we integrate the different aspects of our psyche, the different parts. We have many parts and personas. We're very multidimensional. And that is when you finally can start to feel maybe you've got some agency or some sovereignty within your life where you really feel like you can make a difference, where you really feel like you can love fully and live fully, right? And that's one of the biggest gifts we can give to ourselves, our friends and family, but also the collective. If we think the collective needs a house cleaning, we can start with ourselves. We can clean up our part of it. We're like, one part of the kitchen counter in that house cleaning. So it's like, and you start with that. You start with one part, right? And but that also leads to a much richer, fuller life. And we forget the spirit. We are spirit.
Yeah.
We are that. And it's just that is a gift in itself, too.
Yeah, that's beautiful. That's
Thank
beautiful.
you.
That's why I tell people I don't
Thank
ask
you.
people in advance. I just want what comes from the heart, and that certainly did. Can you share about anything you have coming up? I know we have the spiritual circle. I want to talk more
Yeah.
about collaborating with you on some things too. And
Okay.
what else do you have coming up? What services are you offering? And we obviously will have your website below,
Thank you.
but share anything you'd like about things that are coming up, or things you'd like to invite people to join.
Okay, thank you. I am still doing my spiritual services, so they're non-denominational, but they're modeled after spiritualism. So they always have mediumship on them, and just spiritual poetry and healing and music. It's very loving, safe space to be
Highly
in too.
recommend.
So thank you, thank
Yeah.
you. And it's always fun to have different mediums come on each time. So I put those on every 2 to 3 weeks. Depending on how my schedule is working. I'm still teaching development circles as well. I try to fit in a few workshops for mediumship or healing throughout the year if I can. I'm pretty busy these days,
Yeah.
so I try my best. I've got my two live stream shows. I've got one on Friday um, uh, at 12 Pacific called Embracing Infinity, and that's more of a kind of an umbrella exploration of higher consciousness and spirituality. And I've got a love and relationship show on Monday nights on 6 called The Love Show. And so it's all things, love, relationship, sex, etc. So that's a lot of
Oh,
fun
great.
to do as well. Yeah. And so I'm keeping pretty busy with that. And I do provide private sessions with people as well too. But I'm just here doing a little bit of everything, trying to do my part and make the world a better place. I do mentorships as well, like one-on-one mentorships. If someone's going through a spiritual awakening, they can book a session. If someone has a twin flame they're working through, they can book a session for that as well. So kind of it's a wide variety
That's
of things
awesome.
that I offer. Yeah.
So, and
Thank
all of
you.
that's on your website, I assume. So
Hmm.
we'll put your
Yes.
website down below
Yeah.
where people can look into all of those wonderful things that you offer. Jennifer Rose, thank you for being here. Your website is mediumjenniferrose.com for
Hmm.
those who may be visually impaired, so you can make a note of that. And I just want to thank you for circling back into my life and also for sharing your insights, your wisdom, the work that you're doing. I'm very excited about, as you talked about, just this great awakening that we're experiencing together and that we are in it
Mm.
together. So thank you
Yeah,
again
we
for
sure
showing
are.
up. Yeah,
We're all in it together. Absolutely.
we sure are. Thank you, Jennifer
Thank
Rose.
you for having me. I really appreciate the time to share this space with you. So it means a lot to me.
Likewise.